Yo, what is up guys, NPC here, and in today's video I am reviewing Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 1. As always, you can agree or disagree with my opinions, but these are my thoughts on this season. But other than that, let's just jump into it. So this season ends up being one of the best seasons to start the chapter right, but it actually has its problems along the way. But I do want to start with the Battle Pass. So jumping into the Battle Pass, and the Battle Pass for the season might be one of the best Battle Passes to start Chapter 5 right. All the original characters end up being appealing with the many styles they have that look great in-game. The big appeal for this Battle Pass is the inclusion of Peter Griffin from Family Guy and Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, with Peter being the most involved this season. The Battle Pass also includes a car for rocket racing, the Scorpion, that can also be used for Rocket League as well. As for quest rewards, however, it's a mixed bag as there are 2 pages worth of quest rewards while being different, with the first 3 rewards being match quest related, while the rest being earned through weekly quests. And overall, I would give the Battle Pass a 9 out of 10. While the original skins looked amazing, a couple felt a bit short but still looked great regardless. The next thing I want to talk about is the island. Like chapters 2 to 4, the island can get a bit confusing on where to land first, but after uncovering all of the island, it starts to be like muscle memory on where to drop for some of the best loot in game, as well as maximizing shields. Some areas of the map are based off of various European countries, which is, although a nice attention to detail, they look the same unfortunately. One of the other features that was advertised for the season was the addition of the train. Although it is a nice addition, it is a bit disappointing knowing that most of the loot is just blues. And yes, the floating island returns from chapter 4, but it's more of a mid to late game capture POI just as it was back in chapter 4. Overall, I would give the island like an 8 out of 10. Can get confusing before being fully uncovered, but it's a nice island to play for some matches. The other big appeal for the season, however, is the addition of weapon attachments, and it changes how the gun performs from improved ADS and stability to increased reload speed or better hip fire. And the attachments are actually randomized in the loot pool, so you can get either 1, 2, or even 3 attachments on a weapon. Players of Black Ops 4's Blackout mode, or even just Apex Legends, should be used to weapon attachments being a part of the matches that provide amazing gunfights. However, there is a caveat towards this. In order to customize your weapon, you have to unlock a vault at one of the named locations through being a boss with their medallion. Once defeated, you can head to a weapon bench in one of the 5 vaults that require a medallion to open, or you can head to the floating island to use a weapon bench there, but that is more of a risk reward. And I will say that sniping in this season feels really satisfying than in other seasons. Some new weapons include the grapple blade, which is a mobile ODM but nerfed since you can take fall damage if you're not careful using it. And then you have the riot shield, is one where you can use it for defense, pushing players off zip lines in certain areas, but it takes time to utilize it to its fullest. Overall, I give the weapons a 9 out of 10 because of the freedom of customization and how satisfying it is to use all these guns. This season has the most eliminations I had because of all the weapons, and I am really happy for how the weapons played out. Moving right along, we have the collabs. So starting off, we have Mr. Beast, and it's mostly okay since it's just Jimmy himself, and he has a new variation that can also be used in LEGO Fortnite. The next one is John Wick, and it is nice to see him again, but with a new variation and new items as well. The next collab we have was Metal Gear Solid. The Mythics, the EMP Stealth, and the Cardboard Box were amazing to have. Snake and Raiden were great additions, but it was a missed opportunity to have more Metal Gear skins in the game. But the one that's also involved with this season is Family Guy. We have Peter that gets involved with having his own POI with his medallion, and Easter eggs in Snooty Steps as like a boss. Then we have Ernie the chicken, and raised so much questions about why Ernie got his regular size while Peter got a modified one. Then we have more Dragon Ball skins. The only ones that got added were only Frieza and Cell, with their forms from Z and Super. The downside is that they have no built-in emotes for those 2 skins compared to the other Dragon Ball skins that had that feature. And then the last one is TMNT, probably one of the best collabs that we've gotten in Fortnite, All the designs were amazing to look at and steals the show for the season's collab. Mythic weapons based on the Turtles weapons that are actually pickaxes as well, which makes it so much of a bummer for Star Wars lightsabers being pickaxes in the future, but it might just be a Disney thing. The downside though is the event pass that locks 2 Shredder skins. And overall, I would have to give the collabs an 8 out of 10. What holds it back to being a higher rating are the missed opportunities for some collabs that happen in the season, like Metal Gear Solid and Dragon Ball. The next aspect I want to talk about is the gameplay changes that happened for this season. The first thing I want to talk about for gameplay changes is the medallion system. And when Chapter 5 launched, a single medallion provided full shields but made your location exposed for players to hunt down. However, the medallions have been changed over time so that a single medallion can only provide half shield recovery. Picking up another medallion increases the max shield by 10, and having all 5 is a full shield recovery. And there has been some strategy in regards to the medallions, so if you drop the medallion, that can also be used as bait for the enemy and you can just kill them right away. What I did see were that some people were actually switching out who would get the medallion for shield recovery. And there are only 5 locations that have these medallions. These locations are Snooty Steps, Fencing Fields, Reckless Railways, Lavish Lair, and Grand Glacier. Hurdling makes a return after being disabled for an entire year due to it being bugged when Chapter 4 launched, and it works as it's intended to. Along with that change, the daily quest system have been changed to match quests. These quests can only be done within a match where you can do one of 3 randomly assigned quests for a match, like landing on a named location and reaching a certain number of players, or damaging opponents in a named location with a specific weapon. Another change that has happened this season is the rework of healing items for the medkits, bandages, and shield potions. Before, you can only heal when you are idle, but now you can move while you heal for health and or shield. There is a balance for big shield pods and medkits where you can cancel the animation for healing, but it will remove the item depending on how much you have. Where there are great things, however, there's also controversial changes as well. When the season launched, the movement felt slower, which made players mad, with some bad apples of the community ending up giving death threats and doxing developers over this change. It was quickly changed so that the movement can be faster while maintaining the attention to detail animation that the developers made for the new movement animations. And overall, I would have to give the gameplay changes an 8 out of 10. Changes can make or break a game and its season, but these additions are nice to have. Moving right along, we have the story, and it starts off where Peely gets kidnapped by a new faction called the Society. Jones allies himself with a new faction called the Resistance and its leader Hope to fight against the Society and find Peely. There is no story quest, which was odd to not include, but there are secret story quests that was originally meant for new players but has been unlocked for all players to do. And it ends off on one of the most disappointing notes ever. A loading screen. And how did you get that loading screen? Through a goddamn quest tab for the story that Epic may have forgotten, but essentially the ending for this season is that Jones finally rescues Peely. So while the main story was false advertising, there was a side story that teased the next season of Fortnite. You had Valeria, leader of the Society and sister of Hope, researching Pandora's box around ruined reels. Odyssey appears and tracks the mysterious tiles for the teasers, and then it culminated to a community in-game live event where we ended up opening Pandora's box. It is cool to see that again, despite the main story being falsely advertised. Overall, the story is like a 3 out of 10. It's one of the weaker ones because it has no narrative addition to the story quest, but does set up for the next season. And the next part, we're just gonna rapid fire all the new modes that were added to this season. So starting off, we have Lego Fortnite, which is essentially a Minecraft-like mode for the game. It has the traditional survival and creative modes, as well as having the potential to be one of the modes to distract you from Battle Royale. I give this mode an 8 out of 10 because it is one of the modes that I clocked more hours in than Battle Royale. The next one is Rocket Racing, made by Psyonix. It is a good mode, but the cars are just skins, but the default ends up being the Octane with more coming in the future from Rocket League. Needs more arcade-like modes in order to become a fun mode instead of it being skill and strats. It comes at the cost of the Rocket League community. Overall, it is a 6 out of 10 mode, but I hope there are some new additions for this mode. And the last one is Fortnite Festival. It is the go-to mode for those that have been playing Rock Band or Guitar Hero throughout the years. Main stage is the traditional Rock Band mode, while Jam stage is the party hub. The song list is continuing to grow, with 95% of the songs being licensed, while the remaining 5% are epic originals. Main stage has 2 layouts, a 4-button layout from easy to hard, while the classic 5-button layout is only an expert. The festival pass does suck for it being the most expensive pass in the season, and the season works differently than the regular season as it only remains up to 2 months. I give this mode an 8 out of 10 overall. It is a great addition to the game, but comes with some bugs that end up forcing you to back out to the lobby. And now, the giant elephant in the room. The glaring issues I have with this chapter. One of them is the horrendous locker UI. The new UI might be the worst UIs I have to deal with, and for good reason too. For starters, it ends up creating problems like new icons that appear even though I had already cleared badges before it showed up again. Each category has its own loadout, which makes it really difficult to navigate through which loadout I want to use for my character, emotes, and player loadout too. The main reason for that mostly stems around festival and rocket racing. Was it necessary to have multiple categories for the locker? No, and it has been very buggy throughout each update for the season. I hope there will be another rework for the locker UI so that way it can be simplified than being more complicated than what we have now. The next one are the new quote-unquote quality of life features that have been added that were more intentional that pissed players off. One of the intentional features is making players choose which mode they want to play even if they're not the party leader, which is literally so dumb. It's really dumb. Another intentional feature they added was friends joining you in a creative map even if you're in a private game, and the only way to prevent this is to set your status as away in game, which is so much more complicated to do than just play creative privately without anyone joining. The third issue I have with this season is the item shop and its changes. The item shop always had bundles that contained skins, wraps, pickaxes, backbling, fighters, and emotes. However, with the addition of Festival, Lego, and Rocket Racing, the prices end up increasing because there's just too many damn tabs in the shop, with some being resold multiple times as well as missing items when it first released previously. And yes, they literally removed the damn timer on the item shop refresh. What the item shop needs is to just have a filter setting to filter out items for both Rocket Racing and Fortnite Festival. And then the last thing that I have a problem with, which is my opinion, you can agree to disagree, is the oversaturation of the passes that are in the season. So the inaugural season for Chapter 5 gave us not 1, not 2, but 3 goddamn passes that are time gated, making the FOMO effect triple in amount. Sure, we have the regular battle pass that costs 950 V-Bucks, but with the addition of Fortnite Festival, they included a festival pass that includes jam tracks, instruments, and a skin for the premium track. And Season 1 features Mr. Abel himself, The Weeknd, which costs double the amount of a regular battle pass at 1800 V-Bucks. And yes, it has its own time gate than it being a part of the season's time gate. I mentioned there were 3 passes because the third pass is the TMNT event pass that only lasted a month and that cost 1000 V-Bucks for the premium track. And let's not forget about the back bling that is earnable through the event's quest, Krang himself as the back bling for the event pass and its quest. What Epic should really do to mitigate the FOMO is that they should just streamline a universal battle pass that contains items for all of its different modes and not make separate passes for those modes that makes it difficult for players to complete those passes without spending and being time gated. And overall for this season, it is an 8 out of 10. It's an amazing start to Chapter 5 through the map, battle passes, collabs, and weapons. Modes have potential, but are bare bones for now. What is holding Chapter 5 back are the horrendous locker UI, intentional party system features, item shop tabs, and the oversaturation of battle passes and event passes. And that's gonna be it for the video. There was a lot to cover because there were so many stuff that was added this season, like the new map, new weapons, and new modes. There were some glaring issues, but I still played regardless. But I do want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on this season? I would love to know in the comments down below. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like the video, comment down below, click subscribe, and ring the bell for any future videos I put up on the channel.